Welcome to U.S. News Source Channel. Explosion sounds echoed in Russia. Powerful explosions caused panic. Russia's Belgorod region is becoming the new front of the war. Mysterious explosions occurred from Russian military points in the region. Feeling the war on Russian soil raises concerns on the Moscow side. According to breaking news, explosions were heard in the Belgorod region of Russia at night. Governor of the region announced the deployment of air defense systems. As a result of the violent explosions, it was reported that the air defense systems were operating. It was claimed that these attacks were carried out by Ukraine with multiple launch rocket systems. Our air defense system worked on the Belgorod region, said Vyacheslav Gladkov, governor of the Belgorod region. Operational services clarify results in the field. According to preliminary data, it is known that there was no damage or victimization. This border area has the potential to be attacked regularly. Since the region is at the border, it is difficult to prevent attacks. Measures taken by Russia are mostly insufficient. For this, the moves made especially in the border regions are very important. No matter how much precautions are taken in these regions, countries can inflict damage more easily because they attack from their own lands. These explosions, especially in the Crimea and Russia, increase the tension between the countries and show that the Russian territories are also included in the war. As we mentioned in our previous video, developments in the territory of Crimea also give the impression of starting a new operation. Moreover, strong explosions were heard in this Belgorod region recently. These explosions were the result of a very mysterious event. Allegedly, a soldier from the Sverdlovsk region detonated a bomb while on the site of a military unit in the Bryansk region, causing significant damage and losses. As a result of the explosion of the hand grenade, violent explosions were heard from the region and the Russian military point was engulfed in flames as a result of the fire. It has been reported that more than 10 Russian soldiers were neutralized as a result of these mysterious explosions. After this event, critical predictions were made by experts. According to estimates, a soldier tried to establish authority due to their disagreement and threw a bomb, causing explosions. As a result of this explosion, the arsenal exploded and flames rose in an area of 450 square meters. Fire that broke out could not be extinguished for hours. This incident also shows that the conflicts between the Russian army are starting to break out. As it is known, there were conflicts between the Russian soldiers on the territory of Ukraine. These disagreements were either with Russian mercenaries, with Chechen soldiers or with commanders. While the Ukrainian army carries out operations in harmony, the Russian army has to deal with serious problems both among themselves and in many other issues. To remind you, the Russian army had recently had disagreements with the Wagner Group Russian mercenaries. Allegedly, while the Russian mercenaries took the successes on some fronts on themselves, they made statements that all progress was made thanks to them. After these statements, the Russian soldiers were discredited and their success was fully assumed. Even before, it was stated that there were even clashes between Chechen soldiers and Russian soldiers. While the main purpose of these three armies, namely the Russian army, the Russian mercenary army and the Chechen army, was to fight against the united Ukrainian army, we can say that they started to clash with each other as they struggled against the successes of the Ukrainian army. When failures occur, blame is blamed on each other, and when success is achieved, success is assumed. This situation also increases the tension in Moscow. Because, as is known, these Chechen soldiers and the leaders of the Russian mercenaries and the Russian leader normally got along well. However, after these events, the relations between the Chechen leader Kadyrov and the Wagner Group founder Prigozhin and the Russian president became even more curious. It is predicted that this trio may face a problem at any moment. In the case of a big problem, inter-leader problems will break out. A similar incident occurred in the past few days. To remind you, after the success of the Russian soldiers in the Soledar region, the Wagner Group founder made remarkable statements. Allegedly, in these statements, he stated that the successes in the region were actually achieved thanks to his own mercenaries and that their success was intended to be stolen. After this situation, it was thought that problems between leaders might have started to emerge. In this case, in these days when the Russian soldiers are already having a hard time, other soldiers coming for support may even want to withdraw. This will cause the struggle of a single army to not last very long in the war, where even 3 armies are insufficient against the Ukrainian army. For this reason, it is estimated that the problems are kept secret or patiently for the time being. Because while Ukraine has the support provided by the countries, Russia has only a limited amount of support. This leads to the desire to ensure that the relations with the existing supporters are not disturbed. Moreover, on the other hand, the support for Ukraine continues to increase. According to the latest news, it was claimed that hundreds of advanced missiles for HIMARS will be sent from the UK to Ukraine. According to the statements, the UK will send hundreds of advanced missiles for the HIMARS missile systems. British Defence Minister Ben Wallack stated that the British Ministry of Defence has decided to transfer missiles developed for HIMARS and MLRS systems to Ukraine. Although the type of these missiles has not been disclosed, it is known that long-range guided missiles such as the M31A2 from the UK have been worked on before. These missiles, on the other hand, are referred to as improved missiles, and hundreds of ammunition support in these critical days of the war is of great importance for the war. Such supports also greatly increase the capabilities and offensive capabilities of the Ukrainian army. Although Moscow is very reactive to this situation, the support from England is increasing. This clearly shows England's side. In addition, according to experts, if it has previously provided many missiles for the M142 HIMARS and M270 MLRS systems for Western Ukraine, it will continue to provide more over time. In addition, the long range of such ammunition and military equipment is of critical importance in warfare. In these days when intense conflicts are increasing day by day, the support provided by the countries and the use of these supports are of much greater importance. It is known that especially long-range equipment and ammunition can even determine the fate of countries in the course of the war. Because thanks to these, accurate moves can be made from farther distances. This makes it more difficult to block attacks and repair damage taken. If such supports are increased and continued, the Ukrainian army will become a completely advantageous party in the war. In the long run, the use of such military resources will also be much more critical. Russia, on the other hand, finds it more difficult to continue the war because it receives sanctions rather than aid from countries. As a result of the increase in these sanctions, it will become more difficult for the Russian army to achieve success in the front over time. Because of the sanctions imposed on the countries, both the military industry is affected and the production flow of military equipment can be interrupted. This prevents soldiers in the war from reaching sufficient military resources. In this case, while the Ukrainian army is getting stronger day by day with the support of the countries, the Russian army is getting weaker on the fronts due to the sanctions. This will cause the attack and defense power to decrease in operations. In this case, the regions taken will have to be returned with heavy losses. In fact, if Russia cannot find a solution to this situation in the long run, both the losses will not be compensated and they will not be able to continue the war. For such reasons, all the steps taken on the fronts and every decision about the war are much more important. In the following process, every step taken by the countries regarding the war must be in a much more strategic direction. Every step taken is now more critical than the previous one. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.